Hey all, welcome to this week's episode of the Sith Justice Warriors podcast, where we talk movies, comics, anime, gaming, and everything under the twin suns of Tatooine. So, I'm with my co-hosts Princess Lopia and Darth Sirius.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Hey, now, we were just talking about it last week about the rumored Morbius trailer. The next day it dropped, and I'd like to get the panel's thoughts. How did everyone feel about it?
Oh, I know. It's kind of funny that we literally were talking about it, about the whole Tobey Maguire reference. But yeah, let's Sirius give his thoughts.
I mean, from the trailer, I really enjoyed it. I mean, I'm familiar with the character from old Spider-Man comics, but I've never really dived like that deep into the character. I mean, it was a nice pace to the movie. It gave me an idea of what his backstory is. Obviously, something happened when he was young, and he's on crutches, and he's trying to find a cure for his disease, and apparently he turns to bats, and I guess in the process of experimenting, he ends up becoming Morbius, and I think this is Jared Leto's redemption from his Joker on Suicide Squad. Not saying that his Suicide Squad Joker was bad. I felt like it didn't really get enough time to really appreciate his portrayal of the Joker. But I think him as Morbius is great. Those of you who haven't seen the trailer, go on YouTube right now and watch it. One thing that really intrigued me was at the very end of the trailer where Michael Keaton showed up. So it made
Vulture.
So obviously Vulture's in it somehow. I don't know if it kind of almost seems like that would be like an end credit scene or something like that. Although they wouldn't add an end credit scene into a trailer anyway. And also I do appreciate the fact that they referenced Spider-Man, even though there's speculation that it's Tobey Maguire.
No, it's definitely not. It's because it says murderer, and it's a reference to Far From Home, where he had killed. They revealed that it was the Tom Holland Spider-Man, and that he was the Peter Parker, and that he killed Mysterio. So I think that's what it's in reference to, but we're not sure yet. But it is the Spider-Man. I believe in one of the articles I've read out there, it's confirmed that it's the Spider-Man suit from the Sony Spider-Man PlayStation 4 game. So I think that's where the picture is lifted from. But for me, I think the biggest thing was it really solidified this whole concept for me of the anti-hero. A lot of the movies I feel like are going to be a step change from like what Phase 4 was, where you were introduced to truly heroes, because Captain America, Iron Man, like these are like heroes, and now I feel like there's this trend that's going to the anti-hero, or the redemption story of turning into a hero. Not saying that he isn't a hero. I don't know much about Morbius, to be honest with you. Only enough to get by, but it feels like an anti-hero sort of movie turning into something else. Like, it doesn't feel like he's a hero in the movie, but he may be fighting for what he feels is right. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see where this goes. I mean, the Black Widow movie, she's a hero by rights in my opinion, in terms of being an Avenger, but she has her own sins. So this is a sort of like finishing off her story, this movie, to, kind of alludes to what she used to be. She was an assassin. She admits it. She struggled with it through all the movies. So, it's just interesting that the characters that they're bringing to the forefront, they're not necessarily innocent. And again, that's actually a good thing. It gives some sort of depth to the MCU, to the Spider-Man U, to, they're not just exactly like the Vulture. Like when we found out that it was Michael Keaton, the father of the girl that he was taking to the prom.
That was the biggest.
It was like an aha. It was like he was doing it for his family.
Yeah.
He's not a good guy, but he's not you almost kind of feel for him because he's trying to give a good life to his wife and daughter, albeit in a sort of way that's like, oh, well, you wouldn't really, go do that. Like, and it's almost like along the lines of vigilantism. So yeah, but I'm interested fan about you. What are your thoughts?
I had no anticipation for Morbius. I was just like, okay, vampire. I think the challenge for me is as a non-Spider-Man, like I'm not really well versed in Spider-Man and his little universe there. Little, it's big. That being said, I was just interested to see where they would take the character, given that Sony was a little bit more, I guess I'll call it more of an adult type of spin on things, where not necessarily Spider-Man was an adult, but more that it's more an adult type of theme as opposed to the MCU, where I admit, reflecting on the 10 years, it was a great run, but I'm also starting to get tired of it. And I'm personally not really a Jared Leto type of person. That being said, it was actually interesting and I really liked it. To be frank, I actually kind of would like Marvel to take this direction, but it sounds like they're going down a deeper rabbit hole for phase 4. I hope I'm wrong with that, but I'd like to see a little bit more. But overall, I'm really happy with the way they're going with it. I found it interesting that there were people starting to criticize. There was an article that was criticizing it, saying it's a crazy, weird, vampire-ish type of movie, and I'm like, I guess it's because it's not made by Disney. They're probably slamming it, but overall, I want to see a little more. I hope it's Toby, but it's not. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that. I want to see a little more. So that it's a good step, and if there's anything that could try to get me back into some type of superhero movie, I admit I'm a little bit movied out with the superhero stuff. That would be it, because I am interested in Black Widow. Don't get me wrong. I struggle with it because with Black Widow, spoilers, she died.
So again, like I said, we'll wait and see what it turns out to be. But I will say Sony is actually bringing their A game to the Spider-Man U, and I give them credit.
Yeah, and I agree. And like I said, I say this time and time again, like especially when it comes to characters that I'm not too familiar with, that they're bringing into not just the MCU, but the Sony Spider-Man universe as well. If you're going to sell me on this character, you got to make a convincing trailer. And like I said, the trailer convinced me. Like it had just enough to make me have a familiarity with the storyline and also the fact that
Yeah, I mean it's a good introduction movie. So yeah. So Fan, what else have you got for us today?
So branching out a little bit away from movies a bit, video games. So the past week there's been a lot of news about the magic word delay. So what was delayed? Well, keeping it with the MCU, the Avengers video game by Square Enix was delayed to September. Keep September in mind because I do want to have an interesting question for the folks about September. Keeping with Square Enix, Final Fantasy VII's remake was delayed till April. Keep in mind that's a PlayStation 4 exclusive up till 2021, I think, or 20. Yeah. So it's a 1-year delay, so it's on PlayStation for a year. Cyberpunk, so in other words, Keanu Reeves is getting delayed to till September as well. That is one of the more highly anticipated ones. A game created by developer well known for the Witcher series. And did I mention?
Yeah, I'm really upset. I'm really upset about that. It was
I mention
Keanu Reeves' big moment?
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah. You're gonna have to wait a bit for Keanu Reeves.
At least it's this year.
Yeah. Oh, and then also the a little bit outside of games, the Hawkeye series is delayed with Disney Plus. So let's start with the video games here. Delay. Are you folks unhappy about the delay? Which of the 3 delays are you devastated with, and which of the 3 you actually think would be a good thing that it got delayed?
I'll go first. I'm upset that Cyberpunk is delayed, but I'm curious as to why it's delayed, because based on what they presented last year, like it looked like it was in the right direction. So I don't know what they're adding or subtracting. If they're delaying it to add more Keanu in, I'm all for it. So I have to find out what it is that they're delayed for to be like worried. It's one of those things where, like, you know, when we heard about Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker reshoots, you get worried when it's something like that.
Yeah.
But in this instance, not so worried. I am concerned about the Final Fantasy one, only because based on what we've seen from Square Enix, it should have been like, hit it out of the ballpark kind of thing. Like, I don't know what they're tweaking or revamping in the game to change it. At the end of the day, it's still the same story. I don't think you can change it, because if you changed it, you'd upset many of the Final Fantasy VII fans. I'm not included, so it's not a big deal. But for the millions out there that are, you're going to really upset them if you're changing aspects of the story. Like, for example, if you make Aerith live. Even though I'm not a fan, I would be pissed because I was happy that she died. So, like, you know, that one I'm a little concerned about, because what is it about? We don't know, because all the still like pictures that we've seen, all of the like graphics that they've showed us, like led me to believe that it was in a better place than it was to be delayed. And then lastly, the Avengers game, I'm happy it's delayed. I can't wait to hear your thoughts, Fan, on this one. But we all know they changed the game from a character that I believe, I'd have to check, but I thought the original concept was going to be a character that you created would be the character that brought the Avengers together in the story that's in this game. Then, when it was revealed, all of the graphics for the game, especially the characters, everyone was really upset that they didn't look anything like the Avengers that we grew to know and love. And the voices, like, you would think that with a game that like literally says Avengers, like, that you would hire the right people to at least play the voices. But again, these actors might be busy, but you should bring in some heavy hitters for this game. Especially when it's a very highly anticipated game with that caliber of a name to it, attached to it. And then lastly, they changed it last minute from, I think, a character that you created to Miss Marvel being that glue that brings everything together. And now it's delayed, rightfully so, because I really don't think they know what they're doing with that game. And so I'm actually glad they've delayed it, because at this point, I don't want to see an Avenger game that isn't true to the MCU. I don't. If that's what this is meant to be, or if it's meant to be part of the comic book world, I don't want to see something that makes no sense. So yeah, I will. I'll turn it over to you, Sirius, and then Fan, you get the floor, because I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not too like my issues are, primarily with, the characters' looks and the voices. I feel like you have to have at least one of them. Like it's okay to not have both because I'm not sure if it's due to budget reasons or getting having it cost more money to use like the actor's likeness in their faces, but it's like at least try to get the voices down right. Just because when we play, like we play with surround sound, so we play with our eyes and we play with our ears too. So if you're not going to make the characters look like them, at least make them sound like them, or vice versa. That's my one like big issue. I mean, the part with Kamala Khan, I think we're all in agrees that it's kind of messed up that because I mean personally, I would rather have it be your created character because it makes it more involving and engaging. But if, like I said, if it's like with Cyberpunk, if they're delaying it for the better, that's great. But we'll have to wait and see. And as far as Cyberpunk goes, if they're delaying it for more Keanu, I feel like Keanu's kind of like Jello. There's always room for Keanu, But getting to the big elephant in the room for me is the Final Fantasy VII remake, and that's the one that's really pissing me off. And the reason why is, to your point, Lumpia, the story is exactly the same. You can't change the story. I understand they're changing certain aspects of battle. I've seen, similar bosses. Obviously they're gonna look more along the lines of, Advent Children. For those of you who haven't seen that movie, it was basically following the events of Final Fantasy VII, which came out. It's a really good movie. I would definitely recommend checking it out if you're a Final Fantasy fan. But it really makes me wonder, like, what are they changing about this game that they're pushing it out again? Like, it's not the fact that they're pushing it out all the way till September. It's the fact that they're pushing it out again and again and again. So it's kind of like,
like Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
That was like what, since they announced that was going to come out like in 2007 or something, or 2013. It took till like what, last year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely an itch I could not scratch. It was very, very irritating. But I mean, and especially and like I said, some of the aspects that I loved about Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation 1 was like the materia. Like I really enjoyed the materia aspect of it about about like linking certain things. So I'm not familiar as to what the battle system will be for the 7 remake, but I feel like that's also going to play a big part on whether or not I pick it up, let alone even enjoy it. I mean, still personally, in my opinion, my favorite Final Fantasy of all time is still Final Fantasy IX. The fact that with the updated graphics and everything, and they brought back the 4-person party system. It was retro, but it was modern at the same time. When it first released, but yeah, there's, like I said, there's really nothing you can really do to make the Final Fantasy VII remake that much better. We know the graphics are going to be gorgeous. Like we already know that's already a given. So I really hope they don't change too much about it, let alone the storyline. The storyline's the big thing for me. You can't change the storyline at all. Change the battle system, do whatever you need to do to make the storyline more engaging, but don't change the actual storyline itself.
Yep. So what are your thoughts, Dan?
So the game that I'm happy actually that got delayed was Cyberpunk. It's not because I don't like the game. I've clearly pre-ordered it. I may double dip and buy it on PC as well. But I think that there's a couple of things that where, excuse me, you get a lot of customization options, but because it's first person, I can't see my character. Let me rephrase it. The first person I could deal with, but I know a lot of people were complaining about it. There's also the question about what is the story? They're being so ambitious about how every little quest So when you play Witcher Lumpia, for example, it's like to the nature of Mass Effect, where every side quest you do affects everything down the line. They're trying to take that to the 10th degree, and that's all well and good, but how does that work in the grand scheme of things on current gen hardware? The other thing is that Keanu Reeves, I think someone said he already has 40 hours of dialogue. And since the two of you are all about it, let me just throw my hat in there and say, why not add 20 more and make it 60 hours of Keanu Reeves?
Exactly. We will wait for that. I'm just saying.
Exactly. So I'm happy about Cyberpunk actually getting delayed. In this case, I believe with CD Projekt Red, I very hope trusting that they will improve it. The game that I think that really is a bad sign is the Avengers, because I don't think anything they can do in the span of time in September, and I want to get back to September in a bit. Avengers is the game is done in the sense that this is the path they're going to go. The way I understood it when they revealed it at E3 was the game was about the Avengers, and the main characters are the Avengers. Then they pulled the bait and switch and gave me my favorite Kamala Khan, Miss Marvels. Oh gosh. Did you expect me to do a rant? Is that why you both were like, I really want?
No, I was just waiting for the moment where you with your true feedback.
Come on.
See, the problem is this is the train that's already down, like that's turned the corner, is coming down the track. It's funny because they don't market it that way. They're not marketing it that it's Miss Marvel's story. They're just saying it's the Avengers. So here we go again. Is this the media trying to push out Miss Marvel, but they'll do the bait and switch and actually, nah, it's not Miss Marvel. It's actually the Avengers that we like. Who knows? But I think it was such a poor showing on E3. I thought it was okay. I understood why you couldn't make him look like Downey Jr. I understood that it would take billions of dollars to make Scarlett Johansson voice act. The voice actors they got, I don't know if they did the cadence right, but I do know that a couple of them are like high profile video game voice actors. But I think the feedback I did hear was that they sounded like they phoned it in. It's a shame because it's the people who made the Tomb Raider reboot that are doing this, and my fear
game. That was a great game.
My fear is that actually this was Marvel. This was Disney Marvel.
It could be. It could truly be, because that's the way things are over there.
Yeah, and I will get to the September things. I'm going to ask you both this question too. But with Final Fantasy VII, I almost don't care because I do know the story, number one. Number two, I'm afraid they're going to westernize it a bit. And, like, serious, do you remember the scene where he goes into, where he pretends to be a woman?
Absolutely.
And then do you remember the scene where he goes in the gym and he has to do the squats with the guys that are in the tights?
Yes, I actually enjoyed that part quite a bit. I thought it was kind of funny because that was the part where it was just like, okay, when the fuck do I get out of Midgar? It was after that point. It's like, when the hell do I leave this place? And so it was kind of like a breath of fresh air to kind of do something like kind of like corny, because it takes your mind. It took my mind off of that.
So what are you thinking, fan? And you're thinking they're going to get rid of those?
I mean, it worked back then, and it's Japanese humor.
Well, I think, like, did they ever show? I know they showed something similar to that in some like gameplay footage. I would have to double check.
And I don't care. At the same time, like, if you want certain things like that, you want it to be as pure, which is really great graphics. I don't know, and I don't know if they're going to westernize it too much. I could get modernizing things. Like, I get that quote unquote Tifa has a better support bra for those fans who do care about
Oh my
Tifa.
god.
But I mean, I just realized when I was thinking about it, I was like, number one, I'm gonna wait a year. I have a PlayStation 4, but I'm gonna be honest. I know that the PlayStation 4 version is gonna be crappy compared to maybe PC or the Xbox. If I get the Series X, that's why I'm gonna wait. And then number two, Final Fantasy VII is only gonna go up to Midgar, so you're gonna pay $60 for Episode 1, and you're gonna all you're gonna do is get out of Midgard.
Yeah.
So a part of me just wants to wait for the whole thing in 3 years when they'll do a
the collection.
the collection, and I just pay $60 for the whole thing. I already know the story.
That's
So what's the difference?
They totally want to cash in on something that it's the story, but
I didn't even realize that it was they actually cut it off in Midgard.
Well, because it probably takes so much time.
Exactly. It was
rendering.
Kingdom Hearts-itis.
Oh gosh.
And for those who don't know, my inside joke is that I just sat through and watched. I played Kingdom Hearts 1.5, 2.5, whatever the hell naming conventions they have. The remake.
It's like
the remixes.
It's Evangelion.
The 135.
No, I was sitting through 358 divided by 2. And I couldn't even do a damn thing. I was just watching that, and I was like, "Who the hell's Roxas?" Even though it says Sora. And then, I'm not going to spoiler for people because I wanted to do Kingdom Hearts 2 because then I wanted to do Kingdom Hearts 3. And then I just happened to Wikipedia Kingdom Hearts 3. And I feel like spoiling it for serious, but I'll hold my breath on that. Yeah. But I said September. And the reason why I say that is because the Avengers game is going to go against the Cyberpunk game.
No! Well,
So who do you think is going to win that?
Probably Cyberpunk.
Keanu's going to win. It's going to be Keanu.
I think for the hardcore gamers, yeah, but I wonder if the normies are going to go Avengers.
I don't know. I think it might be a little old by then. Because by then, you're going to have forgotten the Avengers. I mean, like I said, the movie was great and all, but what's going to be fresh in the mind, you've got Black Widow, Morbius, Eternals coming out later this year. So, and whatever else in between.
Miss
Marvel or whatever. I don't know who else. You're not really going to be in that mood. I don't know. You got to time these things right. Sometimes it's almost like that game should have come out last year.
Yeah.
But it didn't.
You know what? Will Cyberpunk 5 years after launch have a Netflix series?
Oh, it totally will. If
and
do it. But they might do Cyberpunk side story.
No. Here's the question. You have a main character, but in your head is Keanu Reeves. If they do have a Cyberpunk Netflix series, would Keanu Reeves be in it?
He should, but he may not. Because it may be an offshoot of the Cyberpunk world. They've done that, This isn't like Witcher. It's not based on books.
Now, Fan, you brought up an interesting point, thinking that normies might go Avengers. I'm not so sure about that because they might at first, but at the same time, normies also watch trailers too, and normies also pick up on certain things. I feel like if enough normies watch these gaming trailers and they see that this not only does this person not look like Captain America from the MCU, it doesn't sound like it. So sometimes that's all it takes to disengage a normie. It doesn't matter what the storyline is. Something as simple as that can turn a normie off really fast.
That's true. Because I'm a casual, but I'm not a normie, and I'm actually I just don't know how they think. Or maybe I do, and I'm being an elite or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's video games, and let's talk about the other delay that I mentioned, which was Hawkeye.
And I think we only need to spend 2 seconds on it, honestly.
Is it dead?
I think we all know the reason for the delay. This whole Jeremy Renner thing going on with his ex-wife or soon-to-be ex-wife, is just not sitting well with Disney, Marvel, as we all know. They have, they have appearances to maintain. I will say, I personally think it could potentially be dead if this goes south. I'm not surprised they delayed it, especially since they announced that Falcon Winter Soldier, which did get delays in shooting because of the volcanic eruptions or earthquakes in Puerto Rico, so I hope everyone's okay there, but they did get shooting delays on that, but they're still slated to be released this year, and WandaVision. So, I'm curious to see why, because the news going on around in Disney Plus is those two coming out, as well as the other series, She-Hulk and Moon Knight. So that's where like the news is circulating. You don't hear it about Hawkeye. It has the potential to be canceled almost.
Yeah, and even if it doesn't get canceled, it'll most likely end up being forgotten. Like I said, they're coming out with so many new things, especially with Moon Knight. I'm obviously going to be glued to that. So, even if it does end up releasing it, probably by the time it actually releases, I just might not even care.
Yeah, so we'll see. I think that's my spiel on it. I did want honorable mention. There's two things as related to Star Wars. One, there's rumors that they are, trying to reach out to Taika Waititi to direct a film. We'll have to keep tabs on that. There was an article that I read recently. And the other thing that's gone viral, and we only have a few minutes left, is George Lucas hugging Baby Yoda. I only think of #traitor, but
what?
You haven't seen this? It has gone viral in Twitter.
No, but why is it traitor though?
#traitor.
Yeah, why?
Because I thought he had nothing to do. He wants nothing to do with it anymore.
No. So they've reached out. So Favreau and Filoni, they really reached out to George Lucas on Mandalorian. That's why it was good, or at least serviceable. I didn't feel that's a traitor, but continue. I'm curious as to why this is.
No, I feel like it's #traitor because I really think that I thought he wanted nothing to do with it and only wanted to work on his little museum out in LA. And after everything, all this back and forth, like it almost feels like it was staged. I almost feel like the back and forth between Lucas and Disney Star Wars, Disney Lucasfilms has been staged in a conspiracy because in case the movies did not sit well with the true fans. I just feel that way now after seeing that photo of him cradling Baby Yoda. And everyone thinks it's cute, and I think it's cute, but I also think that it means to me somehow, somewhere, that this was all staged. Because I'm glad that they reached out to him and everything, but he kind of made it clear he didn't want anything to do with it anymore when he released his rights to it all. And I will leave you guys with that.
Did you hear that Obi-Wan may also be canceled?
No, there's no way.
No.
There's no way.
The two of them.
Fucking way.
The two of them are actually at a Comic-Con this year together in Boston. Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor. So it's quite interesting now that they're allowed to go. But it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. I don't know. That's all I'm saying.
Well, you two should go. I think you two should go.
We'll try. We'll try for the fans. We'll try.
Yeah, we'll send them your love.
All right. And then, so with that said, Keanu Reeves is going to take his time and go do whatever Keanu Reeves does. That said, that wraps up another episode. Thank you to all our listeners as we bring dark to light on pop culture, comics, gaming, and more. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe, tell your friends, and leave us constructive feedback. We definitely want to hear from you, so please reach to us at SithJusticeWarriorsPodcast@gmail.com or Twitter @JusticeSith. Also, links to the articles referred to are in the description, so check it out. Reach out to us with your thoughts, and those on YouTube, do the same. Please go in the comments, like, subscribe, and all the other fun stuff for YouTube to help us out. So thanks, everyone, for joining us on the Sith side. Talk to you all next week.
See ya.
Bye, guys.
Bye.